Have you ever wondered what it's like to be the mascot of a college? Or even more, the mascot of the University of Miami? Well, wonder no more, because we have none other than the former Sebastian and Maniac herself, my friend, the most joyous Madison Clinger, on the pod with us today. Literally insane. I am so excited for y'all to hear this conversation. First and foremost, this is probably the most I've ever laughed in a podcast episode, and you're going to figure out why. Madison is so fun, so energetic, so spunky, and I love her to death, and I know you guys will do as well. Now, Maddie is also making history with the Miami Hurricanes because she is the first female mascot in the modern era, and she'll explain a little bit of that as well. But it's really incredible to hear her story, the tell-all of being Sebastian, and I'm so glad that she is telling it on the podcast today. Before we begin, don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, review, all the things when it comes to the podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, on all podcasting platforms. And of course, don't forget to check us out on all of our social medias so you can make sure you stay in touch about everything from merchandise to the book to play dates, our little monthly hangouts that we have, to so much more. We don't want to make you miss out on anything, so make sure you find us on social media. But enough said here. Let's get into this and let's bring in Maddie. This is the PWYFA Play Where Your Feet Are podcast, and I'm your host, Cameron Dobbs. Maddie Clinger, Maddie girl, welcome to the PWYFA Play Where Your Feet Are podcast. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, you're so cute, and I've missed you down here in Miami. It has been different without you, but girl, you are still doing big things. So talk to us. What are some of the big things that you're up to right now?
So I am in North Carolina. I am getting my master's degree in social work. And I'm in my last year. I'm super excited. So I'm actually going to move on to get my licensure to be clinical social work and then go on to be a therapist, which is so fun. But yeah, right now I'm just working in child welfare in the foster care system. So that's been fun. But not much about me has changed though. Still same old Maddie, nothing new, but yeah.
I love it. The joy is still there as it's always been. And you are always impacting people's lives. My goodness, we're going to get back into so much of what that was the past 4 years or so of your life. But you're still doing it now. So I just want to hang on that for a second. What inspired you to go into the career that you're doing now in counseling?
Honestly, I don't even know. So I've just always had an affinity for people, and I've always been a helper, always been a people pleaser, as much as I don't like to admit it. But I just feel like, especially with children, my concentration is child therapy, especially child trauma, and every child deserves the chance at a successful future, regardless of what you grew up in, regardless of maybe mistakes, missteps that your parents have made or people around you. So I'm like, why not give them a chance? And I just am all about bringing joy into people's lives. And so I figured, why not? What better way than to make everybody feel good inside and out? That's where we're at.
I love it. Literally, the sweetest and most genuine heart is, and you can see it, you can listen to it. All of our listeners can, I feel like, already just feel the warmth of your spirit. You always made everyone feel so much like they belonged, that they were loved, that they deserve to have joy and have fun and be happy. And you did your best to bring that joy to them. And specifically, you did that in a big way at Miami by being the mascot. You were Sebastian and Maniac at the University of Miami. And girl, I want this podcast to really just be a big space for you to kind of tell that story. And I have a ton of questions I want to ask, because who doesn't want to finally ask the mascot all the questions that we always wonder, but we never know who it is. But now that we know, now that you're graduated, you revealed yourself, the secret is out and your story is out. So let's go back to the beginning now. So all the way back when, high school Maddie, what brought you to the University of Miami in the first place?
So I actually was before like social work, before psychology, all of that. I was actually a neuroscience major and was accepted in the neuroscience program at Miami, which they only take about 60 people a year. So like that was so cool. And I was like, I'm gonna be a doctor. Like, I was like, I'm gonna go to school and I'm gonna be a neurologist. I'm gonna like learn about behaviors. And I knew that Miami had a really good med school. And so I'm like, okay, like let's just go there and they'll tunnel me right in. Um, my parents, I actually had wanted to go out of state for school, but my parents, being a Florida local, Florida native, were like, we'll pay for you in state. So I'm like, okay, I guess, I guess I'll stay here. But Miami was great. It has such a great culture. I mean, obviously, like if you've been there, just nothing beats Miami. The diversity, the culture, the people, it's what makes Miami Miami. So it makes Miami great. So I was like, let's just do it. And I actually went, and I'm only toured one time, and it was after I was accepted. Because both of my parents are Florida State alumni, and big Florida State family. And they hated it. They hated that I wanted to go to Miami, but I'm like, why not? So here I am. Well, I guess was.
So you're like, not only am I gonna go to Miami, but now I'm gonna be the mascot at Miami. Now I'm gonna be at the front of all University of Miami athletics. Oh my goodness. So did you always want to be a mascot? When did this idea come into your head?
Well, so actually my mom was the as a Zaxby's licensee owner. And when I was in high school, I was maybe like 13 or 14, and she needed somebody to be the mascot for them. And she's like, Madison, can you just do it? You know, when you're in a family business, everybody just chips
Yeah.
right in. And so I was like, okay, tee. So I did it, and it was fun, but I did not think it would continue into college. I like joined a sorority, like Go Chi-O. And I was like joining all the clubs, and I just like wasn't finding my place on campus. I was like, I need like-minded people, and not saying that like the people that I met in these clubs were not, but I just like felt kind of lost on campus. I like was missing my purpose. And I'm like, what else is there to lose? Let's just do it. So I
Yeah.
did it, and yeah, here we are.
Oh my goodness, amazing. Were you involved in athletics in high school? Like, was that something that maybe you were also missing kind of in your college career?
Yeah, it definitely was. The team aspect was a lot. I played every sport under the sun pretty much. I played soccer, basketball, a lot of volleyball, a lot of softball. I played softball for a majority of my life. And my dad coached me throughout softball, so that was really nice. But it was like a different kind of bond when you're playing sports with people. They come like your sisters. Which is why I'm like, oh, a sorority. But it's just different, it's competitive, it's sports, it's just a different kind of like atmosphere as having a teammate. So that definitely had kind of impacted it. And sports are great. I love sports. Being on the sideline of all the football games is just like an insane experience. So
Oh my goodness, I bet. And so now, when you get in your head, you're finally like, I need to find my space. I'm looking for like more community. I want to feel more like I belong. How did specifically though, like mascot? Like I feel like I would never think like, oh, I'm really seeking community. Like, oh, let me be the school mascot. Like how did that get transitioned? Like, did you know someone that had been a mascot? Where did that come from?
yeah, no, I didn't at all. My freshman year I was in Hecht.
Okay.
And in my freshman year on the TV screen in the lobby, they were just like pumping out like just things to do on campus. It was, I think, September or something. And there was a flyer that had shot up, and it was like, think you have what it takes? Like, try out. And I was so scared. And so I actually didn't my freshman
Wow.
year. And I was like so scared. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna do it. Like, it's probably just a boys club. Like, they're never gonna take me. I'm a girl, da 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 da. And so I didn't. And then that's when I ended up, rushing for a sorority. And then it came up again, September of 2019. And I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I called my mom. I was like, Mom, like, I just like feel like this is my calling. And I actually saw it, and I had like signed up for the information meeting, and I ended up not going. I got
Wow.
really scared, and my friend saw that I wasn't going, and he dragged me there. So he sat in there with me, and I kept going back and forth with it. I'm like, I don't know, like, should I do it? And then he actually walked me all the way to the tryout and he left me. And I was like, well, I'm in it now. So, but yeah, no, it was just a feeling, I guess.
That's incredible. Okay, so talk to us now. I mean, obviously, if there's anything that like you have to keep confidential as an alum of being Seb, being in the flock, whatever, that's totally fine. But this is a tell-all episode. So for whatever you can tell here, what were tryouts like? What is it? What do you have to do to become Maniac and Seb?
Yeah, so it's one tryout process for both. This I can speak on, don't worry. Because we do have information sessions and they do walk through everything.
Perfect.
And I don't know if things have changed, but at least when I was doing it,
Yeah.
we were in full suit the whole time.
Wow.
There's two parts. There's, the tryout part where you're in suit, and then there's an interview portion at the end where like you're out of, just like talk to you through things. You have to do like a t-shirt toss. You have to run and see how well you run in suit. They'll like, you have to choreograph a dance and then you freestyle dance. And I'm not a dancer. And I'm sitting there and
I beg to differ at that. I've seen you break it down as a Maniac before.
You're right. But I wouldn't claim myself as a dancer. But no, I don't remember what song it was, but I was waiting for like the chorus to hit and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hula hoop. So they had like props and I'm hula hooping and I'm waiting for the beat to drop and they cut it off before and I'm like, I blew it. I blew it with this hula hoop. But yeah, no, it's a choreographed dance, an unchoreographed dance, and then like game situation. So t-shirt toss, they'll put you with a fake crying baby which like in reality, it's just a grown man like sitting on the ground crying and like, how do you interact with that? And then the interview part, they, talk about your time commitment and your schedule and, what does like Miami mean to you and why you want to be there. And it was pretty quick and easy. It felt like forever, but looking back at it, it was like so fast. But no, it was crazy. And then they called me. I was an RA on campus as well. And I was doing my duty rounds, and I'm in the stairwell and I get a call and I'm like, hello. And they're like, hey, so like, congratulations, you got it. And I just, I'm like, I think I'm going to cry. And it's this like, well, his name's Pete. He's like, please don't cry. I don't really like picturing this like 20-year-old college boy. Like, I don't know how to deal with women's emotions.
Like, we know the crying baby thing, but not the crying college girl.
I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed with emotion. Like, but yeah, no, it was incredible. It was really incredible.
Oh my goodness. Amazing. Okay. So you went through the whole experience. How many years were you mascot?
It was 3.
Okay.
It's now my freshman year, but most of us were actually 3 years, at least in like my like group.
Yeah.
And it's surprising because a lot of people who do try out actually try out in their sophomore year instead of their freshman year. I think with sorority and fraternity rush, I think a lot of times people see that through first. But we get a lot of sophomores, surprisingly. There's very few that are full 4 years. So
yeah, I feel like that makes sense. Like to be bold right out of the gate, and like you to even like learn about it right out of the gate. I feel like to know, again, everyone knows all colleges for those who have a mascot, but I feel like it doesn't really click to think like, oh wait, I could actually be that. Like until you're probably got a year under your belt anyway. And for all of our listeners who are listening and not watching the podcast, we have Waffles. Waffles is on the show today too. If you heard the little woof, that's our guest star, actually, our guest appearance. I love it. How old is Waffles?
She was actually going to be 2 on Sunday. So I got her during Miami, and actually it took a tribe. I left, I think it was that same weekend I got her. I left for the Pitt game to go out of state for those travel games, and the mascots who were staying behind actually helped out and watched her. So
I love that. Okay, let's get into it for more details. Waffles, of course, can continue hanging. She's got her spot on the bed there. But I mean, you just mentioned it. So you're traveling, you're doing the whole thing. Like you are pretty much a college athlete. Like that's actually, I think you guys and cheerleaders, anyone kind of involved in that area, have an even tougher schedule because you're not just one sport. You're all the sports and you have to be at everything, doing everything and more. I mean, wedding appearances, random events, Miami events, people hire you for parties, like so much you guys have to be responsible for and you guys kill it. So all the respect to you guys. But I mean, a big thing too is that you're traveling. You're gone a lot. You're busy a lot. So how did you navigate when friends would ask you to do things, go places, go to the football game, and you had to say no? You know, what was the answer that you said? How did you get out of these excuses?
So like I said earlier, like I'm very involved, or I guess was very involved on
Yeah.
campus. I was an RA. I was the new member educator for CHIO. And before that, I was the philanthropy director. So like I was just uberly involved in things. And so if my sorority sisters were asking why I wasn't at the football game, I would say I have something with the RAs. But if the RAs were asking why I wasn't at the football game, I would say I had something for the sorority. And I will admit, the secret is hard to keep.
Yeah.
And I told one trustworthy RA, Curtis Oakley, and I told my roommate who was in CHIO, Olivia Humble, shout out, my bestie. And they kind of covered my tracks a little bit,
Okay.
and then they became friends and they started corroborating my story a little bit. It was fun. It was like tough, but it was fun.
Is that really all that new throughout your career?
No.
Okay. I mean, I know it's so hard to keep it a secret.
It is. So I will say this is up for debate because amongst like the mascots, like amongst like the Sebs,
Yeah.
like, who did you tell this week? You're like, you told more people than I told. And like, no, like you told more people than I did. I really probably only told, so I told my big in my sorority because she had helped me. Obviously the guy that like walked me to tryouts and everything, Joe Roll, he knew. My little knew, and then my roommate and the one RA knew. And then as I started recruiting, because being the mascot isn't a common knowledge to, hey, I can try for this. You kind of had to use discretion about it. There was a kid on my floor who actually became the mascot. He did just graduate, Michael O'Reilly. And
Oh.
I was talking to him like, hey, look, have you ever thought about maybe being the mascot? And he's like, I don't know what you have to do. And I'm like, well, it's so, it's funny you ask because like you do this and this. And he caught on. But I really thought I kept it under wraps. But when I graduated, everyone's like, I knew. I'm like, but did you really know?
Right. No, it's incredible. I mean, even I think it was Ethan that I was talking to one time. I was like, so how many people do you think actually know? Like, come on, like a lot of people has got to know. And he really thought about it and he was like, oh man. And I'm thinking, I don't know, he's going to say 100 plus, who knows? And he's like, maybe like 22. And I'm like, whoa, like that's like, you guys do a great job. Like, as obviously it's going to slip out and like with best friends, with family, things like that makes sense. But y'all do a great job of keeping it secret. And then I know, of course, how you guys do the reveal, but tell everyone listening how you guys do the official mascot reveal.
So to reveal at graduation, if you don't know what Seb looks like, you wear his big yellow feet and you walk across the stage. So you're the very last person to be announced at graduation. And obviously they go based off like your college. And so I was the only one graduating in College of Arts and Sciences out of like my group. And so they call your name across the stage and you unzip your gown so it shows the jersey and you're wearing the feet, and then you lead the entire I'm literally getting chills thinking about it. You lead the entire graduating class and fans and everyone in your last cane spell out as a student. And if you're graduating with multiple Sebastians, like Jake and Nate did theirs together, which was fun. But yeah, that was a surreal experience.
Yeah, I mean, you said you were getting chills. I'm almost getting chills over here. Like just imagining the moment. And of course, I've seen all the photos, and whenever I see those posts for graduation, because of course Miami Hurricanes, University of Miami will post those reveals that are on, and it's just so sweet. And I mean, for me, I knew a lot of you guys because I was working in-game experience with you guys. So I to be able to see that just like come to life was so special. But what was that moment like? Like when you finally reveal, when everyone in the world knows, what was that like for you?
I So I am a very outgoing, bubbly person. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't do crowds. Like, I don't do crowds.
Not with the head off.
No,
Head on, you're good.
I felt naked, and I'm like, I can't do this. And I literally looked at the graduation worker, and he's hyping me up. He's like, this is like, can I get a selfie? And I'm just like just flat, and my body's shaking. I'm like so worried that I'm gonna let people down almost, just because Miami is so like embedded in their traditions and what they know, and just school spirit in general is just off the chart, especially now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, historically it's always been men, and what if like they're disappointed that it's been me, or like second guessing me as a woman, representing them. And I'll be honest, after reveal, it was mixed messages on my Instagram, and I was getting private messages, and different kind of comments were being made about me. But it's just people, you just gotta let it roll. And it was a tough time afterwards, but like in the moment I was like nervous, but after it happened, I was just so joyous, like seeing the support that everyone had, like in the stands. And I had like people that I sat next to in chemistry my freshman year being like, oh my gosh, like standing, first ones to stand up. And it was just like nothing I'll ever experience probably ever in my life. Tops my wedding day to future husband TBD. So
it's funny. I was about to be like, wait, are you already married? Then I was like, wait, are you engaged? Like, where did I miss this? It's okay. You and me both. You and me both. One day. In Jesus' name, baby. In Jesus' name. How cool, though. Oh, my goodness. Surreal experience. I've never seen it live. Like, I've never had, which, of course, it's not like you graduate a million times. So I only graduated technically in person once because I was a COVID grad the other time. So I didn't have anyone do it in mine, but such a cool experience. And to actually be the one doing that is absolutely insane. So, I mean, looking back on the experience as a whole, just how crazy was it all?
It felt like such a whirlwind. And when you're in it, you don't realize how unique of an experience it is compared to like anything anyone's probably done. Like you're like, it is very much like an athlete, and you're doing every sport, so you're meeting every kind of person. I remember doing baseball games, and you change behind the dugout, like in their little locker room, and all the baseball boys would come around and be like, who is it? And I'm like in my like sports bra and spandex, like, don't look at me. But you just like, you form this community of like other athletes as well in Miami, and like you're doing out of school events, and you're trying to juggle your classes because you're still very much a student. And I remember going into Leslie Connect's or like Orgo-Chem class, just like reeked. Like I had the bag in my car, and I was like running after an event, trying to get it to class before my next event. And I'm just like, as a girl, your hair gets very wet when you're sweaty, whereas the boys just like rub it off or put a hat on. I'm just like drenched. I'm like, well, everyone's just gonna think I got some hygiene issues. That's okay. But nobody questioned it, and it was just insane. And like the amount of people who don't realize that it's you.
Yeah.
And like I had different like grown men like try to chest bump me. I'm like, yeah, like or I had like old ladies try to squeeze my butt. I'm like, okay, well, I had an older lady like rub my stomach and goes, I can feel his six pack. I wonder if he's like sig up. I'm like, no, yo. So So it's just like the different kind of people you meet, honestly, just like make it what it is. And it was just a life-changing experience all around. But
Okay, and those are some hilarious moments right there that you had in suit. Oh my goodness. Talk to me about your favorite memory in suit. What would that be, do you think?
so my favorite, there's a lot, obviously.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
all the different sports, you probably have your favorite memory per sport, but I think my like all-time most memorable, I don't know if favoritist or most favorite is the right word here, but the best um experience was probably when it was the Florida State basketball game. And since I was the only in-state bird, we call them, I normally did a lot of the basketball tournaments or like just preseason and in-season games over winter break because all the boys were like out of state. So I kind of got first pick as to big games that I wanted to do, which was nice. So I got to do, I think I did both the UNC and the Florida State game, which were both basketball. And they were both, I know Florida State was sold out, but I think UNC was pretty close. And we were just rocking it that year, but I feel like we're rocking it every year lately. But I remember it was sold out and my parents came and it was so cool. And I remember just being lifted into the air and I was like, I'm like, am I falling? What's going on? Like, because you don't see well. And I have these two guys just lifting me and crowd surfing me. And I remember looking to my right and I'm screaming. I'm just screaming. You're not supposed to talk, but I'm screaming. I'm like, and I see like the railing of the like thing just up in the air right next to me. I'm like, what is going on? But that whole game was just insane. The crowd was crazy. It turns out I actually looked back at it. It was Ethan who started it and threw me
No
up.
way.
I was like, you traitor. But it was so cool. And my dad is such a worrier. I've had 7 concussions through softball. And my dad's like, they're going to drop her. She's going to drop her. Anytime, like football, I would try to like climb the wall to go up and like see people in the stands. My dad's like, you're going to fall, you're going to hit your head. Every time, worried I'm going to hurt myself, worried. And I'm just like the impulse risk taker that Seb is. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. Just going to do it.
Oh my goodness. I love it. And you talk about Seb and being that risk taker and the impulse too. And Maniac is the same way, if not even more of an extreme. And you mentioned too, like you probably have favorite memories from being in different sports, and then also I'm sure from being Maniac versus Seb too. So who's your favorite? What's your fave? Do you love being Maniac more, Seb? Like what are your thoughts?
So I struggle a little bit. It's interesting because it's hard to go from an event with Seb straight to a baseball game because they're just so different. Seb is like this ladies man and he's so suave and just so like smooth talker. And you got Maniac that's like, it's like stepbrother who's like from the Boondocks, like just not all there. But no, I really have a hard time because like I love Seb because I love like he really is the face of Miami. And everyone loves Seb, but also like Maniac's so quirky. And so I feel like I can be more myself which is weird to say, but like in Seb, I really had to turn it on and, change the way I walked, change the way I acted to try to act like a man. But with Maniac, I was like, I don't care. Like Maniac is like me personality. And I remember talking to our coach at the time and I was like, can you play line dancing songs? And so I sent him a list. And so then Maniac started line dancing. And I remember telling the boys, I'm like, you have to learn these line dances. He's going to play them. People are going to want you to line dance. And maybe like I think Ethan tried to pick up on a few of them, but people get into it. I had a girl in the stands call me Elmo once or twice. So I'm like, that's fine.
Close enough. Yeah. Okay, I gotta ask, my fellow inner country girl here has gotta ask, what were the line dances that you did as Maniac?
We did the boot scoop boogie a lot. A lot. And then we did, obviously Cotton Eye Joe was a big one. And then we do Apaches, I guess, I mean, it could be a line dance, but we do Apache every, can't even remember now, like 9th inning, I think it is.
Yeah, going into it.
Yep. I was like, shoot, I can't even remember. And the watermelon crawl was the other one. they're just like easy and people get into it, and you're just like, okay, because you can't really see, it's super hot, and it was especially like during COVID, we were kind of stuck on the dugout, and so you just get bored. We had made signs for a few games, which was a lot of fun. But no, it was Maniac's just Maniac.
I love the Maniac so much. And it's funny because when I met you, or at least to my knowledge, I could have met you as Seb or Maniac years before and I didn't realize it, which, funny quick story, as I interrupt myself, is that actually happened with one of the Sebs before, because I was doing my capstone project on the best college football fan experience in the state of Florida. I did this whole thing, and I had done a like cheer practice, and I got Sebastian to be there. I learned some stuff with Sebastian, like interacted. And then later I was doing the in-game hosting, and this is so bad, I'm blanking on his name right now, and this is awful. He graduated. Jake. There we go. Jake. Yep. Okay. I don't know why I just blanked on his name. So
Time.
I know it has been, which is crazy. Because even when I was prepping for this episode too, I was like, oh, she graduated like just now, and I'm like, wait, no, that was like a full year ago. Time flies. But anyway, so I do this capstone project. I interact with Seb, have him on my video, on my documentary, all the things, and then fast forward like a year later or so, or not even a year later, like 6 months later, I'm doing in-game hosting with Canes Baseball, and I meet Jake in the flesh as like a marketing intern, and he's talking to me, and he's like, oh yeah, like we've met before. And I never, besides just not forgetting his name, I never forget, like, especially my interview subjects. Like, I don't forget you, and definitely not your face. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, when did we meet? And I feel awful. I'm like, who is this kid? Like, when did I interview him? And he's like, yeah, for your capstone. And I'm just like what? I'm like watching it back in my head. Like, Jake is not in this. Like, I'm so confused. And then like throughout the game, whatever, we go. And then he finally tells me, he was like, yeah, we met. And I'm like, when did I meet you? And he was like, oh, I was Sebastian at cheer practice. And I'm like, no way. Like, that's so insane. And I just could not believe it. So it was the coolest, craziest thing ever. That was one of my like most fun Seb stories, I feel like, because I had no clue at all who that was. I never knew anyone before I started doing in-game hosting. Like, I never knew who was in the suit. So that was so fun to realize. But doing in-game hosting with you, I remember you were just so fun as Maniac and always a blast. And I have this vivid memory of you dancing to Dancing Queen by Mamma Mia in the stands. And it was just like you were going off. You were having a blast. It was so much fun. Like, you were just getting it. Like, every single word you had something for. And then the funny thing is, as Maniac, a lot of times anyway, like, you guys will strip, you'll flash the crowd, like whatever it might be. But we would always joke a little bit more that you would do it maybe more than everyone else, because you can't do it as a woman. And so now when you're Maniac, you were just always flashing the crowd with your jersey, and we would just die at that every single time.
It was honestly my favorite. I remember going at the time, I don't know if you were here when Gunner was here, but at the time it was Gunner, and I would go behind him like, hey, I'm gonna put my shirt over your head. He goes, don't eat Madison. And I'm like, yup, and like eat him in my shirt. And he can't hit me. He can't push me away because you're the mascot.
Yep.
Maniac was so fun. And I really would strip. I would flash everyone. I would shake my little tushy in everyone's face. I'm like, this is so fun. And my dad was like, Madison, like, stop. And I'm like, and I stripped. I think I like did the strip run after many, if not all games that I did.
Yeah. You were like, I am never missing this ever. So much fun. Oh my goodness. And we've already hinted at it several times that, it's not common that it's a girl in the suit. I think the correct history is that you were like the second female to ever do it. But did you know going into this that you were going to pretty much make history and be a big part of history by being the Maniac and being Seb?
Yeah, I had no idea, honestly. I mean, in the back of my head, I just kind of figured it would be men.
Yeah.
But no, I remember getting the call and be like, yeah, so you're the first. And I was like, oh my gosh. And even like throughout the whole time, like I mean, the guys in general were pretty like never saw me as anything different. And a lot of the times, like I didn't feel any different than the guys because like, playing sports growing up, like you become like more of a tomboy and like you hang around like a lot of the guys and like play sports and stuff and mess around. But no, I didn't feel different until probably my last year when like, they started leaking it to like certain like news outlets and stuff like that. And then people started reaching out to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is really happening, which was like interesting. And I actually didn't know that her name's Sindra. I didn't know that she existed until after I graduated. And
Yeah.
she was not happy. Um, but because we didn't know. And
Yeah.
so I actually went with Professor Julby and we had gone back through all like the scrapbooks, the yearbooks. And I guess it was a club. It was like a club very similar to Category 5, like the spirit club, like the big spirit club on
Yeah.
campus. And I guess like you would just sign up and do it. Like everybody knew who it was. It was pretty normal. And I actually was able to sit down and have like a long conversation with her about just like her experience because it's not often. And she did say, she's like, yeah, it was the last one, like a woman when I graduated, it was it until you came. And I was like, whoa. So, and back then it was icky. It was just the head. And then you would wear like a cheerleader uniform underneath, or I think just a football jersey underneath, but it was just the head. And she was telling me that it would like bruise her. And I was like, that's so different. But they would just do games. And so it's kind of like interesting to like kind of compare and contrast between the two because like the experiences were very different. But no, I had no idea. And it was insane after the fact to just kind of like have it set in a little bit. But because other schools have female mascots, Syracuse is mainly female. So it was just kind of interesting because you don't think of it differently until like you're in Miami and you're like, oh, it's just you.
Yeah, incredible. So talking about just being a female in suit, I wanna ask this question, but I want two answers. So hardest part of being mascot, just that question in and of itself, but then also hardest part of being a mascot as a female. What are your two answers there?
So probably the hardest part of being a mascot was probably like two things. It was just like mentally and emotionally exhausting, so, or physically, I guess, exhausting sometimes. Like you would at away games, it would just be you. So like that was just a lot, like physically, like a big toll on you,
Yeah.
especially like being a college kid. If you were having a little too much fun the night before, like there's no excuses. You gotta go do it. And then time management too was just kind of tough. Um, but also like if you're just having a bad day, or like you bombed a test or you're having like friendship issues, you have to go on and you have to be like on your A game. Like you can't see a mopey Seb or it will be all over Red Cup. It will be all over like any social media platform. Like you have to be like on your game. So it's just kind of like one of those situations where you just have to put your personal stuff behind and just like turn it on. It's like that was probably the hardest. But as a female, I actually got, judged a lot. Because, you get booked out for like campus events and off campus events too. And it was interesting because going out into the community, it's just you go in and you're like, hey, like you call your contact person, you're like, hey, I'm coming. And actually I stopped calling. I started texting only. Because if I called it, they just had a lot of questions. They were like kind of judgmental. They're like, okay, so like, can we get the other one? It's not really you, is it? And I was like, oh my gosh, so I'm just gonna send a text. And then I would get there and the same thing would kind of happen. They would be like, so when is Sebastian coming? I'm like, it's me. And at first at first I let it affect me and it really bothered me. And I remember like calling my parents crying. But then it hit a point where I'm like, who cares? I'm like, I'm just gonna have fun with it. And so then somebody be like, oh, well, will you call them? I'm like, sure, I'll call them right now and I'll let them know where to go. Don't worry about it. And then I would still go up and like go out in suit and come back. And they're like, oh my gosh, like that was insane. Like, wait, was it you? I was like, yeah, it was. And then like it changes their perspective a little bit. And I think it goes a lot like don't judge someone just for like their physical appearance, as like their abilities. That was a lot. And there were like one or two times like where it got a little like questionable, but you know, you have the ability to leave if you don't feel comfortable, like before the event is over. And I think it took a lot for like me to advocate for myself as like, hey, like I need a private place to change. Like I can't just change out in the open. Like I like, you know, I'm not normally one that speaks up for myself. I'm like, sure, whatever. But it took a lot. And I think, you know, our team in general did a really good job of kind of adjusting to it when I did have needs. But no, I was probably a lot more in the community, and it was a here and there. It wasn't like every time, but when it happened, I was like, dang it. Like you feel like you're letting somebody down, but you're not.
Wow. And you mentioned, having your team there. So what was it like kind of being in like the band of brothers, having your fellow flock? What was that like? Were they like your brothers? Did you feel like one of the boys? What was that relationship like with all the other Seb and Maniacs?
Yeah, so actually for my first probably 2.5 years, it was really good. The old guys that went in, I didn't feel any different. I was really worried I was going to be iced out. I was like, shoot, like they're just going to have like just munching together and I'll be in the back. But no, they were super welcoming. Ish, especially, I don't know if he was, I think 2 years above me. He was amazing. He kind of took me under his wing, and you, as a, like we call them hatchlings, like as a starting Sebastian, you kind of like shadow certain Sebastian's events, and I ended up shadowing majority of Ish's, and so you like pick up on his traits a little bit. And so like he kind of took me under his wing, which was nice. But kind of towards the end, it got a little iffy. I think we were all kind of, aging, and me and another one were co-captain together. And I think there was a bit of a power dynamic there. And especially because like I was getting a little bit more press. It got a little sour there at the end. But it's just like any relationship, any kind of friendship, like it ebbs and flows, and I don't let it affect me. I don't let anything affect me. I'm like, I'm going to do me. I'm going to just like live my life of purpose and bring joy to people. And if you don't like it, sorry. But
I love it.
So, but
Yeah.
no, they don't like ice me out or anything, which was really nice. But
That's awesome. And you mentioned, of course, you talked us through tryouts earlier, and then you mentioned being a hatchling and how you have to shadow, go to other events, making sure that like doing the marketing internship to where you're watching them perform and see what they do at different ball games and stuff. So talk us through a little bit of the training of actually being Seb and Maniac. So you start off as the hatchling, you kind of figure it all out as you go. And then did you have like a workout routine? Like, because this is not easy stuff that you do. How did you stay in shape to be the mascot at Miami?
we didn't really have a regimented workout. We always joked around and talked about it. I think the Sebs who graduated before us would go to the gym and work out together. But our group liked our hours of sleep. Especially because like they don't like to see us all congregating in a common area for too long, because we all come from such different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Especially like we would joke because we'd be at like trivia night one night and it would just be me as the one girl here, and everyone's like, so who are you dating? I'm like, no. No. But no, we actually signed up for tumbling. I think it was either my sophomore or my junior year, just to try new tricks, just to freshen him up a bit. And we went to tumbling 3 days a week, late at night, and it was a lot. We would do conditioning there and stuff, but we would learn like back tucks, we would learn back handsprings, front handsprings, handstands. He started teaching us parkour, and I just didn't make it past trampoline, but but
I was going to say, I never really saw our Seb doing like round off back handsprings.
well, so it was interesting because we could do it like physically, like we could do it by ourselves, but then when we brought the heads,
Yeah.
it was like, where am I? Because you have very limited sight. But no, we would do stuff. We wouldn't really condition with cheer, but we would do stunts with cheer as well. And I felt like I was always the one being thrown in the air. And I was like, I don't know why they think I'm the cheerleader, because I'm not. Like, I've never been a cheerleader, but I would always go fly. And so we did it for a few games, which was really fun. But no, we didn't have any like regimented, it was everyone for themselves, but we would joke a little bit because, those jerseys are tight. We're like, all right, like you're getting a little round there because you have to like kind of keep a similar like body type to each other.
Yeah.
But we always like chunky Seb or like thick Seb or, like, hey, like get it together. But no, it was fun. We were all like motivated each other to, if we saw somebody lacking or like needing some help, like we were always there to like support them and stuff, which was nice. But it was just like a band of brothers and I guess me, but it was just playful fun. So
So sweet. So sweet. Oh, that's so awesome. And I know, I mean, throughout your entire time in suit, you guys impact so many people. I mean, if you think of just a little kid being able to high five Seb or get a picture, whatever it might be, like you guys are always impacting so many people, bringing smiles to so many people. I'm always shooting stuff on campus with Seb, and we'll take the golf cart around to just be able to get places quicker, obviously. But we'll drive by people and I'll just be sitting in the back with Seb and he waves and it just, everyone is instantly smiling, grabs their phone, takes a photo. I mean, you guys make everyone's day and it's the coolest thing ever. So as much as you've impacted others, I know that being Seb and being Maniac has also impacted you. So all of your time, all of your years in suit, how has it actually impacted you?
I'll say it definitely made me more outgoing and definitely, maybe more of a risk taker. Not that I already wasn't a risk taker. But I mean, like that was a big feat to go in and not know that there were other women there or not, and to not know if you'd be accepted. There was a lot of what ifs. And so I think like it's really just kind of taught me to just like seize the day, seize the moment, go do it. Like, who cares what other people think? Who cares if you're going to get judged? Just do it. And that's just kind of like really reflected into who I am today. I'll just do anything. I'll talk to anybody. I'll go up to anybody. I'll be the silly, goofy, quirky Maddie, and I don't care who says what, thinks what. I'm like, this is me. And but it just like overall made me, a more positive aspect on life to not worry so much about judgments from other people. And I think especially in today's culture, it's just become so, judgment heavy, especially with social media and stuff. And so just to kind of like let your light shine is just kind of how like Seb has just kind of like impacted me, I guess.
So beautiful. And specifically as a female working in the sports industry, it's not somewhere you might typically think of anyone working in the sports industry, but being a mascot and being a female mascot, what advice might you have for other females who are looking to work in sports, or not even just sports, but a male-dominated industry, something that they're stepping into that might not usually look like a female in that position? What advice would you have for them?
Honestly, advocate for yourself. That was a big one that it took me a lot of time to. You're going to feel like you'll lose your position almost. Like that's at least how I felt, that I was like, oh no, like they're going to view me as less than, they're going to view me as weaker. And there were a few times, I guess, like more towards the end when like coaching changed and stuff. And it was like, oh, like this, they were joking, but they're like, oh, like this is why we don't hire girls. Like, and it impacts you a little bit. People are going to view you as you're stereotypical emotional, you're like needy, but you got to just find it in yourself and find the strengths and power in yourself to just like stay true to you. Don't change who you are. Trust your gut, trust your instincts. Like you are just as worthy as any man in there, if not more. But it's true. You just got to stick to your gut and advocate for yourself and stand up for yourself and find the power within you, and don't try to look at it from other people. I didn't try to find strength in numbers. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna find it in myself. I'm gonna love myself and love who I am, and that's all I gotta say about that one, I guess.
Amen to that. I love that. And now, pursuing what you're doing now in grad school, in counseling, and being a therapist, everything that you're looking at in your future, how do you think that being mascot at Miami has now prepared, or how do you think it'll help you in your future career?
Yeah, I mean, I don't shy away from uncomfortable situations. I've definitely encountered a few uncomfortable situations throughout my time as a mascot. And so now I just say it how it is. And so it's definitely kind of helped me in that aspect of like, at least in therapy, like you just got to ask the questions, and you can't really worry about, oh no, like, what are they going to think? Because that's what you're there for. You're there to be a support for them. You're there to lighten their mood. You're there to help them. And I think, everyone looks at Sebastian and Maniac as like this joy. You're having a bad day. You failed a test. You go and Sebastian's handing out roses on the patio. Instantly mood boost. So you just got to kind of take that into your daily life, and at least I do with mine. I'm like, we'll just do little things here and there and just bring people joy. We have this thing up here called the Krispy Kreme race, and it's a 5-mile race, and you eat a dozen donuts in the middle. And I did it as an inflatable cow, and I was like, why not? And everybody it was tough. But everyone's laughing, taking pictures, just enjoying themselves. And, like, you just got to bring joy however you can. You just bring joy, I guess. And I think that's just kind of carried into today.
I love it. Oh, and I love you so much. And you really are just like a personification of joy. You radiate joy. You are already glowing anyway, and just so beautiful inside and out. And I think that's a lot of what Playing Where Your Feet Are is about. It's that, basically being Seb. It's knowing that, like, hey, even if I did just flunk a test, even if I did just mess up, even if I am having a bad day, like, I'm going to do my best and be my best no matter what, no matter where. And I'm going to play where my feet are. And I think that I love so much of your life actually is the play part. It's the fun. It's the joy. And it's funny because as we're recording this here in July is actually just right after I launched our pink collection. And whoop, whoop. Plug.
Go buy it.
Yes. Yeah, I got a pair of sweats hanging right here. So
everyone on video, look at it and buy it. It's adorable.
What she said. But I mean, the whole point behind that, besides obviously I love pink, that is my favorite color, and the Barbie movie dropped, so we tied that in, like, of course, all the little marketing things. But pink, and that pink collection for me really was about play, and it's about fun. And for me, that's a big reminder that so much of Play Where Your Feet Are is like push, perform, like grind, like all that stuff, the motivation of it, but also a reminder that that very first word in the phrase is play. And I think of play like a kid playing on a playground when they're a child, and just that childlike faith, that childlike joy that we have, and that spirit. And you do such a good job of that too. So I love that we're having you on the podcast. But I want to hear it in your words. What does Play Where Your Feet Are mean to you?
I think for me, it is, like you said it perfectly. It's just do what you love, create, do, be, exist, run if you want to run, but don't if you don't. Just try new things and be who you are, and just everyone is in different places in their life, and you should never compare your life to somebody else's. And I think it's so easy. It is so easy. I do it. It's so easy to, but no two people came from the same place, and you just have to love where you're at and just appreciate what life has to offer in this moment, because you never know what'll happen tomorrow. You can't control what happened yesterday, but you can only control what's happening right now. So just be and love and exist.
I love it. So good. And I love how you pointed out too that thing about comparison, because that's so true. And I think that's also why it's play where your feet are. It's not play where Maddie's feet are. It's not play where Cameron's feet are, or Sebastian's, or whoever, like your neighbor, your friend, your mom, whoever it might be. It's play where your feet are. And so whatever situation you're in, whatever lifestyle looks like that you live, however much money you have, however many followers you have, like wherever your feet are. And, you don't always have to be content with where you're at, but I love, like you said, you have to be happy with it. And if you're not content with where you're at, cool, set a goal and move towards that. But you can't get to that unless you start by playing where your feet are. You got to take advantage of the space that you're in and not just take up space here. And you nailed it too. I mean, that's exactly what Play Where Your Feet Are is all about. And you're a great example of it. So as you're on the show, as you're on the podcast, as people are, I'm sure, like, rapidly picking up their phones, Googling you, figuring out this whole story, and like
is this true?
Yeah, let me fact check this real quick.
You have no idea how many people fact check. I'm like, that's fine. Look at my
goodness
picture right now, and I'll walk away, and I'll get like a DM later, like, wait, I messed up. I'm like, it's okay.
Like, it's okay, I forgive you. I spread joy and light anyway. No, but seriously, like, as I'm sure these people are just like freaking out about, like, this is the coolest thing ever to be. I don't know how many people can say that they've had a mascot on their podcast before. Like, this is my biggest flex yet, I feel like. But for those that just want to learn more from you, including how to play where their feet are, what advice would you have for those people that want to play where their feet are, but either are intimidated or just don't know where to start? What's your advice there?
Yeah, so we play in therapy, we play the fill your cup. So it's like you can't pour into other people's cups unless like your cup is full. So you need to find the things that make you happy and bring you joy. A lot like ice cream can make me happy, but it might not bring me joy. So find the things that deepen your core that just fill you up and make you energized and make you feel happy and excited about life. You just got to find that drive. And I say drive as in not like go run like a marathon, but just like drive to love life and be excited about the life you're living. And I even have my days, like everyone's going to have those days, but what your purpose is and what your why is what is going to lift you up at the end of the day and keep you going. So that would probably be my nugget, is to find your why, find your purpose, and find kind of what makes you you. And go on that self journey, the self exploration. I think everyone deserves to explore themselves because everyone has so much to offer. I mean, the world has a billion, trillion different people in it, and everybody is so different. And so, just embrace what makes you unique. And that's what's going to help you stop comparing, I guess, because no one's going to have your traits. That's a good thing.
Yes, I always learned, one of my minors was marketing, and in class they always taught you that, your most marketable aspect about yourself is yourself. It is the fact that you are unique, that you are not exactly like everyone else, that, I might be a tall blonde, which a lot of athletes and sports reporters are, but no one has my exact story and my exact testimony on my life and my why, my purpose, the things that why I do the things I do. And I love that you went back to that too, kind of the core of who you are and your own why and your purpose. So I got to ask you, what is your why?
My why, I guess, just in life is finding joy. I like to find joy and bring people joy. I think, everyone is their own light, and some lights are brighter than others. And those whose lights are not bright just need a little extra help. And so I think just kind of, pouring into other people when I can is just kind of my why. Obviously, you can say your family and my mom would.
You're like, if you want to be basic.
My mom would appreciate it if I said my family, so I'll say it now. But no, I think just like pouring into other people and spreading joy, spreading light. Just the world is a nasty place these days. You don't have to agree with someone, but at least just show them respect. And I think that that's really just what I try to do, no matter your background, no matter what color, shape, size, you could be a square, you could be a circle. I'll love you just the same. And showing everyone compassion is just, I guess, my why, just making people feel joy.
So beautiful. Oh, Maddie, you're just amazing. I'm so honored to have you on the show today. And, I say it with any guest that I have, but just because the podcast is ending doesn't mean that the interaction between our listeners, our followers, and you should end. So at this time, I'd love to just give you the floor to feel free, plug how they can reach out to you, how they can follow you. I know you got a couple little side hustles too, so feel free to drop those because we didn't even talk about that, but feel free, drop any platform you wanna plug here. There's no shameless plugs. It is all fully supported.
I mean, hey, we support each other here.
Yes.
But no, so my Instagram is at Madison Clinger with a C. And that's probably the best way to get me. My DMs are always open. I'm always looking through message requests. I actually probably get 1 or 2 messages a month asking about my time as a mascot, which has kind of been interesting. So any questions, any kind of advice, any mental health advice you want, DMs are open. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you in any way that you need to feel supported. That's probably a big one. Also, if you want your pet painted, I do have an art business. I am an artist here in Raleigh, which has been so incredible. I teach paint and sip classes at Wine and Design. If you're ever up here, book a class. Love to teach you how to paint while you get drunk, or drink water. That's fine too. But also, if you want your pet painted, it is Art Period by Maddie Lee. And then that's how you can paint. You can buy a wine glass, a beer cup with your dog or cat or fish or turtle on it.
Lizard, iguana down here in South Florida.
And 10% of the proceeds go to National Alliance on Mental Illnesses. So
wow.
Donate.
So beautiful. I love it. Oh, this was amazing. This was so fun to just hear the insights. Like I've seen and read and watched your story so many times, and it's just incredible every single time. So I'm so honored that you chose the podcast to also share it on. So
no
fun.
better podcast. You do an amazing job. You do, and your story is amazing as well. So nowhere I would rather do it than here.
Oh, you are so sweet. Well, I mean, final thoughts, final words, any other things you want to add or say?
Buy the pink collection. No, but just go spread joy, be you, and buy merch.
And go Canes.
Go Canes.
Okay, can we do a spell out? Is that too outrageous? Can we do it?
We can. Let's see if I can.
Yes. From the pro herself. As she pushes her, I gotta narrate this. As she pushes her chair away, she stands up. You see her bedroom. She's ready. She's got her Miami crew neck on. She might be rusty, but we will always support. All right, girl, on you. CANES. Yeah. You killed it. Okay, if you are strictly and only listening to the podcast, you have to go and watch that moment. You have to, or else it will not make any sense to you. But my goodness.
We'll pretend.
It was so good, so good. All right, Maddie, thank you so much for hopping on. You really are just a joy, a light. You make me so happy just talking to you. I'm so honored to have you.
It takes one to know one, Cam. It takes one to know one. You're amazing.
Amen, sister. Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, well, thank you so much again for hopping on. And welcome, officially, to the PWYFA Play With Your Feet, our family.
Best accomplishment ever.
Aww.
Tops reveal.
Yeah, take that, Seb. No, you're the best. Thank you so much again. And who knows, maybe in the future we'll have you on again. We'll have to see. Season 4?
Season 6?
Every season? Co-host? Maddie, you're the best. Thanks for hopping on. And hey, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of the PWYFA Play Where Your Feet Are podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Dobbs. That was Maddie Clinger. We had a blast, as you can tell. Make sure you follow her on social media. I'm linking everything below, from her own socials to her art socials and all the above, y'all. So check her out, find her after this podcast, and stay in touch with what she's doing. And while you're at it, go ahead and find PWYFA Play Where Your Feet Are on all platforms too, so you can make sure to follow along in everything that we're doing as well. You guys know the drill. Once again, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, comment, share, all the things that you gotta do to make us continue spreading the word of playing where your feet are. But till next time, be blessed, play where your feet are, and stay tuned for more of season 3.